Hey everyone, welcome into another episode of The Locker Room here on SBTV. I'm your host, Ben Zitouni. Joining me today, making his first appearance, Malik Jackson, and also Michael Wengrzyn joining us again. Guys, how was your weekend, and are you ready for March Madness? It seems of almost every sport. Malik?
Yes, I'm very pumped, and my weekend was very good, I would have to say. I'm just so excited because Huebsch scored his 600th goal yesterday, which was it was a big achievement, and he did it under 1,000 games, so that's good. March Madness is always a great time of the year, gets sports fans a little bit of time to watch basketball throughout the entire day. So I'm pumped for that, and I'm just pumped to be on the show.
Malik? Or Michael?
Well,
sorry.
Yeah. Another M-sounding M name. So chill weekend for my part. I think a lot of madness just in all sports in general. I'm definitely looking forward to the basketball tournament, but at the same time, we got to keep up with all the action that's going on in the other leagues, especially NFL, with all the crazy free agency and trades going on right now.
Yep.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun show. So on today's show, we'll recap Pointer sports from the past week. We'll break down the men's national tournament. Bracket was released on Sunday. We'll play around to buy or sell and talk about all the Packers moves that they're making in free agency. Yes, the Packers made free agency moves. Starting tonight, the Pointers men's basketball team saw their postseason run come to an end, unfortunately, on Friday night after a 65-55 loss to number one seeded Whitman. Drew Fredrickson led the Pointers offense, finishing with 14 points and 4 3-pointers. Mark Nelson chipped in 12 of his own points, and MJ Delamore chipped in 9 points in his final career game as a pointer. All right, guys, what went wrong for the Pointers on Friday night? Malik?
I would definitely say being down 11 points at halftime, that is also, it always brings, it always brings things to be complicated to always come back in basketball. Like you cannot be a comeback team against a number one seed. Like that never could happen. I say in the second half they scored 36 points to 35, so they would have came out the gate a little bit, faster, not motivated. Maybe they got motivated a little bit more during the halftime speech from the coach. But they only had 2 fast break points, and they only had 18 points off the bench. So you have to bring more production. You have to have more production from your team, and it's an all-around thing with basketball. And if you don't have that, then you won't win any games in any league.
Michael?
Malik mentioned it a little bit. It's just not being able to score points enough right away. They were down 11 points at halftime, as you mentioned, and then in the second half, they started to put together a nice-looking game, second half of the game on their side, but they just never really got going there in the first half. And, guys like Drew Fredrickson and Mark Nelson and MJ Delamore, have been very productive all season, but they also didn't really have Cannon O'Hare to step up there very much. And I think that kind of hurt them a little bit because you do need production from all your guys on the bench and also on the court. So that hurt them in the long run, and it was ultimately what led them to fall apart against Whitman on Friday night.
Yeah, you touched on it. Lack of production from O'Hare. You're not going to win a lot of games if your big man doesn't produce for you on the court, offensively and defensively. And also Malik touched on it too, slow start. I mean, the Pointers have overcome slow starts during the season, but you can only do that so many times. And when it's tournament time, you can't afford slow starts. Mm-hmm. You're not always going to be able to come back. So
exactly.
What grade would you give the Pointers season, and what's their outlook for next season? Michael?
I think this year they definitely surprised me and a lot of us Pointer fans as well. I think I got to give them an A- because going this season there wasn't really any expectations for them to go anywhere. You got back Coach Bob Semmling after his suspension from the NCAA upper higher program. And at the same time, looking at the outlook for next season, you'll have Delmore, who will be graduating, but you also have Cannon O'Hare, who will be coming back. You also have Brett Tarver and Drew Fredrickson coming back.
Ethan Bublitz
coming back from injury as well. So I think the Pointers have something to be optimistic going into next season and beyond.
Next season, this season, I would definitely give them a B+ grade. Coming from the Pointers and being a championship winning team, although it got stripped because of some things, but it is what it is. They had a 21-9 regular season record. That's pretty good. Coming from the season that they had prior to that, and like you all were saying, or like Michael was touching on, having those players come back and the seniors come back, having those players come and produce efficiencies, and you have to have efficient players to have a successful team. So that's what they need to strive for the future. And I just, as a Pointer fan, I want to see them prevail and continue to grow.
I'd give them BB plus. Obviously, I think they might have exceeded their own expectations, even if they won't admit it. Maybe collectively they did better than they thought they would, better than the coaches thought they would. They lost Kent Dernbach, who was the interim coach last season. He took a job at lacrosse. So they were down to only two coaches, one assistant coach this year. They overcame injuries. Ethan Bublitz being lost before the start of the season. He was going to be their starting point guard. They overcame a lot. Obviously, I honestly think this team could have won a national title this year. They just dug themselves a hole with the slow start against Whitman. Next year, for the future, I think the outlook's bright. They're not losing too much.
Only losing two seniors, I believe.
Only losing two seniors. They're not losing that much offensively. They are losing Delmore, but I think they'll be able to replace his production quite well. So the future looks bright for Pointer's basketball program.
Yeah, and just a quick note to mention, too, they finished second in the conference rankings this year, or conference standings, rather, in the WIAC, and then ended up winning the WIAC tournament, which I don't think any of us expected. So I think that was a huge positive outlook to take away from their season as well.
Yeah, just got to take all the positives away. You can take all the positives from the season that you can and build off of them and fix what didn't work and get ready for next season.
Yep.
The Pointers softball team dropped 3 out of their 5 games played last week. Their 6th game, which was to be played on Sunday, was postponed due to weather. Over the weekend, the Pointers went 1-2 in the Greenville University softball tournament. On Saturday they lost to Buena Vista University 5-4, and then beat them 4-3 in a doubleheader. On Sunday they lost to Luther College 9-4 in a 5-inning game before the game was called because of weather. Their record now stands at 5-4 on the young season. Their next stretch of games will be played during their spring break trip to Florida. How important is it for the Pointers to win at least half of their 12 games over spring break? Malik?
It's very, very, very important to win these next couple of games. I mean, you're talking about only one game above 500. You don't ever want to be like that to be a successful team in any league and any sport. So they have to go out and strive and just try to score more runs. I mean, you said that it was 4-3, and then they won. Well, they won 4-3. So they just have to score more runs. I mean, and you have to make sure that your pitchers are, focused and not fatigued, or just making sure that the batting lineups and everything goes according to what it's supposed to, be. So I think that's what they need to strive for. And hopefully over these next 12 games over the break, they will focus on that and build a good chemistry for the rest of the season and just progress from there.
Michael, your thoughts?
I think they mentioned it, I believe it was on Twitter, that this is the Pointers softball team's best start in the past couple of years. They jumped out to, I believe, a 4-1 start, and then they kind of lost their next couple of games and now currently stand at 5-4. And going out in their spring break trip down in Florida, there's going to be some tougher competition down there. You're going to get a lot of exposure to teams that you're not familiar with, and also get to see some of the national talent on a higher scale, because there's some great teams everywhere else in the country in Division III for softball, and Low Point's program has been on the up and up in the past couple of years, although this year they have a new head coach and such. They're going to be needing to go into there and not take anything lightly at all. They got to go in there and take the opportunity they can to really get some valuable experience against competition, especially when it comes to conference play. Then things will really pick up.
That's gonna start That's gonna start after they come back from their spring break trip to Florida. They're a young team. They have some experience in the outfield and with pitching, which is obviously always a strong suit when you're talking about baseball or softball. But I think they need to win at least half of their 12 games in Florida if they want to keep building on the somewhat of a strong start they have to a season, because once you get into conference play, the WIAC's a great conference for softball with Oshkosh, Platteville, and Whitewater, and all the other teams, and they can't afford to start going on a slide this early in the season.
Mm-hmm. Definitely not, and you don't really consider yourself. They shouldn't also consider themselves, lucky to be able to go down and play these games, because sometimes some of these teams go down there and they're not sure what they're up against, and they don't really have a great trip in terms of playing these teams. So going down there, you should kind of have an idea of what you're going to be playing against and how you should focus yourself and prepare yourself for these games as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So the Pointers baseball team got their season started over the weekend, playing St. Olaf in a doubleheader played at U.S. Bank Stadium in Minneapolis. Pointers won their first game 3-1 in 7 innings. Ryan Stanisek led the offense, going 2 for 2 with a run scored and an RBI. Game 2 was suspended in the 7th inning due to time constraints, with the Pointers leading 9-6. The next stretch of games for the Pointers will be played during their spring break trip to Florida. They'll play 8 games down there. What can we take away from the Pointers' first 2 games of the season? Michael?
Well, I think we could take the way that they're off to a good start right now. Jeremy Drischel is really having
Third season at the helm.
Third season at the helm, now the permanent head coach of the WSP baseball program. He's got a good idea of who he's got coming back. You also take a look at who's returned from last season. I believe you got Alex Stodola, Kyle Morozinski.
Great catcher behind the plate.
Great catcher behind the plate. You got also sophomores like Tommy Duddleston, who's a great infielder at 2 that can really step up and produce at the plate. So I think this so far we've seen a little bit of a good start for him. I do think that they can continue to carry it on when they go down into the spring break, because as you mentioned, that there is definitely some tough competition out there in Florida, and great opportunity to play some more baseball in some nice weather and have the chance to come back, get ready for conference play time, and be ready to make another run at the tournament when it comes to May.
Which will be a definite contender. Malik?
I definitely think what you hit on the point, Mike, going down there to Florida and really hitting their stride. I mean, they're having a good season right now, starting off. Just you're talking about consistency. They scored, 9 runs in one of their games? And, I mean, just having so much of so much people, so many of the players, having a good offensive game is very needed for baseball, and having a team with a lot of depth is also good with all types of sports. So I would definitely say for the Pointers, they have to stay consistent, and you're saying that it's the 3rd year for the coach.
Yeah.
Knowing who he has on his team is definitely very essential for them to have a successful rest of the season. So starting off really well, I want them to continue with the pace and know their team and just continue to grow from there.
Yeah, no doubt. It'll be fun to watch them. Shifting to the ice quickly, we talked about the Pointers men's hockey team quite a bit on last week's show. We'll keep it brief today. The Pointers travel to Adrian this weekend to face the Bulldogs in a quarterfinal game on Saturday night. From both you guys, what's one key for the Pointers to win, and will the Pointers pull out the W? Michael, you're a big hockey fan.
I am a big hockey fan.
One key, and will they win?
Well, you got to go out there. You got to play tough. Adrian's a tough team, hard-nosed team. You got to go out there.
We'll call them tough.
Yeah, we'll call them tough. So you got to go out there. You got to play hard. You recover from that last game, put that behind you, and focus on what's coming up now for you. And obviously, I do think the Pointers will come out with the victory. That would be great. They go to the Frozen Four. So you just got to go out there and play tough. Don't take anything for granted out there.
Malik?
Going against Adrian, I think the Pointers need to continue to win off the face-off battles. They have to.
They struggled doing that against Eau Claire.
Yes, they really did. They really did, and also put pucks on that. I saw in the game earlier in the season, they scored 5. They scored 5 goals, but they also had 45 shots on net.
Yeah.
So that's very, very. I mean, you talk about. You're talking about a burden being on a goaltender. You put that many shots on that, it's hard for any goalie to stop that. So I think they have to just have good goaltending, focus on defense, and continue to have good puck movement, and they should get the win.
Yeah, I agree with both you guys. I think one key is Max Milosic having a good game. He's been battling injuries over the past couple games. I think he's taken these about, you could say 2 weeks, get healthy, and play smart. And I think the Pointers will pull out the W and head back to the Frozen Four.
That would be great.
That would
It'll be fun
amazing
to watch. We're going to take our first commercial break. When we come back, we'll break down the National Basketball Tournament.
How can you get involved with student media at UWSP? Connecting with your campus television station, SBTV, is easy. Like us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Vine, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Pinterest. follow us on Instagram, or connect with us on Google+. But of course, the best way for you to get involved and stay up to date with all that is happening at our station is to stop by our studio. We're located in the Communication Arts Center at UWSP, Studio B, Room 121. You can also drop by our office, Room 130, for more information on station happenings. We can't wait to get you involved. Come join us at SPTV. Let's make media together.
Welcome back to the show. With the selection show having been this past weekend for men's college basketball, we now know what the matchups will be in the tournament this year. The 4 number 1 seeds are Virginia, Villanova, Kansas, and Xavier. Virginia's in the South region, Xavier in the West, Villanova in the East, and Kansas in the Midwest region. Guys, any complaints with the teams that got the number 1 seeds? Malik?
No, I do not have any complaints. All of these teams are stacked very well, have a lot of depth. I would definitely say Kansas. I think that they're the most prepared, in my opinion, just because of just the experience factor. I mean, you have Devontae Graham. He's a point guard. He has some cold blood in his veins. Like he hit some tough shots in the championship game, and I really don't have any complaints. Virginia is a very renowned team as well. They have a lot of depth as well. Too. Very good in defense. So. We'll just have to wait and see, but Villanova is also a good team. So these number 1 teams.
Experience, they won the title 2 years ago.
Exactly. So that also plays a part in it, and I'm just very eager to get this tournament started, to be honest with you.
Michael?
I don't think I have too many problems with how the selection show went. Number 1 seeds, I think I agree with. I'm a little concerned about Kansas and how they can handle themselves coming into March and stuff like that, because it's usually been a time where they kind of struggle a little bit, but at the same time, it also can rejuvenate a team and really inspire you to play a lot better as well. And I really like Virginia. I think they're one of my top picks that can go all the way this year into the national championship. Villanova is always going to be strong too. And Xavier, they kind of came out of nowhere last year, and this year now they made themselves a number 1 seed. So I think that's kind of interesting, and I think they're going to be a little bit of a dark horse even for a number 1 seed. You may not expect a whole lot with them, but they could be dangerous out there.
Yeah, it'll be fun to watch. Do any of the teams from the playing games played tonight, Tuesday night, or tomorrow night, Wednesday, have a chance of moving on to the second round of games? Michael?
I think
you have Syracuse, Arizona State.
I think probably Arizona State. I think has a bit of an opportunity where they can get themselves into the tournament fully. I also like UCLA. They also pose a strong threat as well.
They do.
And there's a chance here they could get in the tournament, and all of a sudden that they have a whole bunch of confidence riding with them as well. So I think I like Arizona State and UCLA to get into the official tournament field, and maybe they could create some upsets, cause some brackets to fully break. Who knows?
Malik, what do you think?
I also would say the same thing. I would say Arizona State or Syracuse, whatever the winner of that game, I would say that they have the best shot. I just don't see anybody beating Florida, Xavier, or Villanova in the first round. So I'm definitely going to go with those two. We'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, it'll be fun to watch. Couple questions. Is this the year a 16 seed finally beats a number 1 seed? Malik, is this the year it's going to happen?
No, sadly. Wish it will, though. I mean, but then again, it has been a lot of upsets this year. I mean, we went through like a week and a half span of where all the number 1 seeds were getting beaten. So it's unpredictable, and it is madness. It is March Madness. So anything is possible, but I just don't see it this year. I just don't see it happening.
Michael, is this the year?
There's always a chance every year, but it's a very, very small chance. It's almost non-existent pretty much. I don't know. Probably not this year, I don't think. I think all the number 1 teams will easily get through their first round games, but at the same time, I feel like it's been kind of closer in years past. We've definitely seen some upsets of number 2 seeds in years past, so probably not this year.
Next question. What's one upset from each region people should be on the look for? What's one upset that you have happening? Malik?
An upset. I'm going to go with, I don't really think it's an upset, but Alabama is facing, who are they facing again? Alabama is going against, I believe,
Virginia Tech.
Is it Virginia
Yeah.
Tech? I believe so. So they might have an
8
upset over
versus
there.
9.
Yep. So that might be an upset, but that's not really an upset, I guess, because it's the 8th and the 9th seeds. But
Michael, any upsets you have?
I kind of think Auburn, might get through their first round game, and this is their first tournament, I believe, since 2003. So that they have a chance to go out there and show that this team can go in the tournament and win. But at the same time, it's going to come down to whether they can go out there in their first game and go out there and play, because it is definitely going to be a tougher challenge for them than having to play in the SEC tournament as well. So we'll see how that goes for them.
Yeah, Auburn, one of my Final Four teams. And also one of my upsets, South Dakota State being Ohio State in the first round, 12 over the 5. Watch out for the Jackrabbits. Bringing it back home now. Since Wisconsin and Marquette didn't make the tournament, it's the first time since 1998 that no team from the Badger State has made the tournament. Will that change next year? Michael, real quick.
Oh, I believe so. Marquette's in the NIT, but Wisconsin, I think, will be back in the NCAA tournament next year.
Malik?
same. Wisconsin is a basketball school, and they'll surely be back.
Streaks are meant to be broken. They'll just start another one next year.
Exactly.
We're going to take another quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll play a round of buy or sell.
Don't have a television? Don't worry. SPTV is available on demand at uwsp.edu/SPTV. Find your favorite shows on our website, plus links to all of our YouTube content. Stay up to date with SPTV news that includes information about campus and community happenings. And don't forget to like us on Facebook. We're SPTV-UWSP Television. SPTV. Let's make media together.
Welcome back to the show. It's time for a round of buy or sell. We're going to have 2 rounds, one with college basketball questions and another with various other sports questions. College basketball, is this the year Gonzaga will win the national? This is the year Gonzaga will win the national title. Buy or sell, Malik?
I'm selling that. I just never have any type of confidence in them, even since the Adam Morrison days. I can't just see them winning anything, because I don't think they have that championship pedigree built in them. I don't see it.
Michael?
I'll sell that too. I mean, they've been great in years past, especially last year went to the national championship, but there's a lot of good teams out there, so it's going to be a lot more difficult for them to get back there.
I'm going to sell it as well. I have them going back to the Final Four, though. Buy or sell, one of the number 1 seeds won't make it to the Sweet 16. Michael?
I'll buy that. I still kind of not sure, so much sold on Kansas, but they're who knows? I don't really think that they'll make it there.
I'm going to sell that. I don't believe that will happen. And Gonzaga, Duke has a good coach, and sorry.
Some technical difficulties. One of the number 1 seeds won't make it to the Sweet 16 this year. Yes, sir. Buy or sell?
I'm gonna sell that. I do think that they will make it. All of them will make it to the Sweet 16. I don't think any upsets will come.
All right, next question. Malik talked about it a little bit, but buy or sell, Duke will lose during the first weekend of action. Malik, you're going to sell that?
Yeah, I'm definitely selling that. They have Coach K, and he's always been a very dominant coach, and I just can't go against him.
Michael?
I'll buy it, but only because I don't like Grayson Allen.
Me too. Not a fan of Grayson Allen either. Now for more buy or sell questions, the 49ers overpaid for Richard Sherman. Buy or sell?
I buy that. He was going to jump on that first offer that he could get a lot of money out of, so I'll buy that.
Malik?
I'm going to sell that. I actually think Richard Sherman is an incredible cornerback. Just coming off of a torn Achilles, I mean, that's kind of hard to come back from, but he's a great cornerback, and I kind of believe in him.
Buy it. For the same reasons Michael talked about. Buy or sell, the Phillies overpaid for Jake Arrieta. Michael?
I'll buy that too. I think Phillies in years past have just, when it comes to pitchers, they just kind of get a little overreactive and pay a lot more than what they should. So I'm going to buy that.
Malik? Overpaid?
I think I'm going to sell that. He is a Cy Young winner. He also, that season, he had a 1.77 ERA for the season, and
through 2 no-hitters as well in his career.
Yeah, so he's pretty good. I mean, I'll take that, because you can't.
They overpaid. He was a flash in the pan. The Rockets will be playing in the NBA Finals this season. Malik, you're a Rockets fan.
Yes, I am. I will buy that. I believe we have the depth enough and the defensive efficiency to beat the Warriors this year. I mean, I don't know which more to say. We have the MVP of the season, which he got robbed 2 years, James Harden. And having Chris Paul adding another leadership role on the team, I think it'll really help us brand ourselves to be a championship contender.
Michael?
Buy it. Rockets are going to win the West this year.
Buy it. 3 buys. We're going to take our final commercial break of the show. When we come back, we'll break down the Packers' moves from this past week. Welcome back to the show. On Friday night, the Packers traded cornerback Demarius Randall to the Cleveland Browns for quarterback DeShone Kizer, and the teams also swapped 4th and 5th round picks in next month's draft, with the Packers moving up. Guys, what are your thoughts on the trade, and is it one that needed to be made? Michael?
I talked about this in the chat with you guys. It's like I mentioned that DeShone Kizer wasn't a great QB, and all of a sudden 30 minutes later, the Packers get him for Demarius Randall. While getting those picks and moving up in the rounds is great, at the same time, I'm not really so sure that we should have given up our top cornerback. And even though Randall isn't a great cornerback, he was our top guy. So it's a little bit of what was going on right there. I'm not really sure, but at the same time, I feel maybe Kizer could develop a little bit more underneath Rodgers. We're just gonna see how time will tell and how this trade will play out later on, especially going into the season.
Malik, your thoughts?
I'm thinking the exact same thing. I mean, Kizer being under Aaron Rodgers could be very, influential for him, and I think that he could grow from that. But trading away your best cornerback is kind of iffy, but maybe it's the moves that they needed to make for the future, and maybe they'll, progress a little bit more from that. So,
I don't really think it was something that needed to be done. Demarius Randall obviously had his struggles, no doubt, but you trade him. You have Kevin King coming back from a dislocated shoulder injury. You have Devon House, who might not even be back. You have Lindsey Pipkins, lack of experience. Herb Waters, who's still transitioning from wide receiver to corner. Really don't know what's going on. I don't understand the trade. DeShone Kizer, he did throw for over 2,000 yards last season, but he also had 22 interceptions and a QB rating of 60.2. Not a great season overall. I know everybody's going to be like, he played for the Browns. Still had a bad season, and he hasn't shown that he can play in the league yet. But like Malik said, maybe he can learn something from Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. Hundley didn't show it at all last year.
Yeah, so I think Hundley and Kizer were probably 2 of the worst quarterbacks in the league.
For sure.
Also, breaking for today's show, Packers signed free agent tight end Jimmy Graham. They also released wide receiver Jordy Nelson after 11 seasons on the team. Guys, what are your thoughts? Michael, you and I are the Packer fans.
Yeah.
We've been going back and forth during commercial break.
Oh my goodness! So what a lot has happened in the past 2 hours going on with the Packers and stuff. Jimmy Graham is definitely going to be a great asset to
much welcome presence, especially in the red zone.
Definitely will be a better tight end than Martellus Bennett was.
Doesn't take much to beat that.
Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, you're getting rid of Jordy Nelson, the man who has spent his entire career with the team, has obviously came back, won the 2016 NFL Comeback Player of the Year award after missing 2015 with the torn ACL. And, he was Rodgers' top target, for all those years. And I'm sure Rodgers isn't very happy about what has happened. I mean, sure, you get Jimmy Graham, but you also lose Jordy Nelson. And I personally would have gotten rid of Randall Cobb because he hasn't been performing at a good level these past couple seasons. So
hasn't lived up to his contract.
Exactly. So
Malik, your thoughts?
Definitely adding Jimmy Graham is a big thing. I mean, you talking about another weapon on the offense for Aaron Rodgers to throw to, who he really doesn't need much to do much. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is a phenomenal quarterback, best ball placement that I've ever seen. But Jimmy Graham. I'm a Falcons fan, and he used to play for the Saints, and he used to torture us. Having another Hall of Fame quarterback, I mean, no shots at Russell Wilson, but Aaron
Jimmy
Rodgers
Graham's
is.
played for.
Yeah.
Well, he's going to play for 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks with Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers, and Russell Wilson, borderline Hall of Fame quarterback. So
Yeah.
Jimmy Graham's. I think he's going to love playing with Aaron Rodgers. It's going to be fun to watch him, but I hope I have some faith and thought in the back of my head that Jordy Nelson's going to come back, restructure his deal, kind of like the Packers did with A.J. Hawk after they won the Super Bowl, but they cut Jordy Nelson. Their wide receivers are Devontae Adams, Randall Cobb, Geronimo Allison, and Jeff Janis.
I don't really like that lineup
Jeff
too much.
Janis hasn't done anything since the playoff game against the Cardinals a couple years ago. Geronimo Allison, off the field troubles too, can't stay healthy. Randall Cobb can't stay healthy, isn't consistent. Devontae Adams, obviously the best out of those 4 I listed. He gets another concussion, he might be done playing football. So
Right.
Yeah.
I sure hope the Packers know what they're doing.
Yep.
That's all we have for today's show. Thanks to Michael and Malik for joining me today on the show, and a big thank you to our technical staff for making all this possible. Be sure to check us out on Facebook at SBTV UWSP Television, or follow us on Twitter at SBTV_UWSP. Also visit the UWSP homepage to locate all your Pointer athletic information. We're going to be taking the next 2 weeks off for midterms and spring break. Enjoy your spring break, fellas.
You too?
Of course.
We'll see you back on April 3rd for the next episode of The Locker Room.